Welcome to this explainer. If you've spent any time at all scrolling the internet, watching nature docs, or just sending crazy animal facts to your friends, you already know the terrifying reputation of the place we're zooming in on today. We're talking about a country famously known as an absolute hub for dangerous, formidable, and honestly, downright scary wildlife. But hey, we aren't just going to look at creepy pictures today. We are going to look at the actual science and the history behind them. Okay, let's dive into this and uncover the true evolutionary origins of Australia's deadliest wildlife.
I want to kick things off with an exact quote from our research. What if I told you that one country is home to the world's deadliest snakes, giant spiders, venomous jellyfish, and massive crocodiles? Man, just hearing that list triggers this sort of visceral fear, right? It literally sounds like the setup for a legendary monster movie. But it's not. It is a biological reality. We're talking about a single geographic location hosting an unparalleled collection of nature's most lethal designs. It immediately makes you wonder how such an extreme concentration of danger could possibly exist in just one corner of the globe.
So, the crucial point is why Australia? Out of all the continents, all the completely distinct ecosystems on planet Earth, why does this specific country have such a concentrated amount of dangerous animals? It's not just bad luck, and it's definitely not just some viral internet myth designed to get clicks. There is a deeply fascinating scientific explanation for this whole phenomenon. And to understand the why, we have to completely shift how we look at this. We've got to stop looking at the modern animals themselves for a second, and instead look way, way back into deep geological time.
The answer to our big mystery actually kicks off millions of years ago. You see, Australia's story is fundamentally a story of total geographical isolation. When the landmass broke away from the ancient supercontinents, it basically became a massive floating island, completely cut off from the rest of the world's ecosystems. So, over countless millennia, the plants and animals trapped on this isolated continent were just left alone to forge their own unique evolutionary paths. No outside biological influences whatsoever. This total isolation, it was the exact recipe for evolutionary extremes. By the time we hit the present day, that millions of years-long pressure cooker has served up the modern deadly wildlife we all recognize today.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the core mechanism driving the whole shebang: natural selection. Because Australia was so insanely isolated, natural selection operated like a relentless, localized arms race. I mean, without the traditional top-tier predators from other continents dropping in to balance things out, the native species had to fiercely compete with each other just to survive in a seriously harsh, unforgiving environment. These animals had to develop increasingly potent venoms, better camouflage, and stronger jaws just to secure their next meal. Basically, geographic isolation built this unique evolutionary crucible, and natural selection was the strictly unforgiving judge deciding exactly which deadly traits made it to the next generation.
To truly wrap our heads around the scale of what natural selection achieved here, we need to compare the evolutionary arms race that went down on the Australian landmass versus the one in its surrounding waters. The harsh, sun-baked soil of the outback demanded one type of survival strategy, while the vast, deep blue sea of the coastal waters, that demanded entirely different adaptations. But in both arenas, these predators evolved to be incredibly efficient, specialized, and, well, extremely potent. Let's break down exactly who these evolutionary survivors actually are.
Let's move to the land and see how this builds our understanding of the specific terrestrial threats. On land, this intense evolutionary pressure gave rise to the world's deadliest snakes. Because grabbing a meal in the arid Australian outback can be incredibly tough, a snake simply cannot afford to let its prey escape after a strike. Therefore, natural selection heavily favored the evolution of incredibly fast-acting, highly toxic venom. Just neutralize the prey instantly. And right alongside those snakes, we have the dangerous giant spiders. These land-based hunters evolved remarkable trapping, hunting, and venomous capabilities to thrive in literally every corner of the Australian landmass, from the deep outback right to modern suburban backyards.
But wait, the danger definitely doesn't stop at the shoreline. The coastal and aquatic environments surrounding Australia were busy hosting their own fierce evolutionary battles. Out here, we find massive saltwater crocodiles. Ancient, heavily armored predators that have stayed virtually unchanged for millions of years. Why? Because their design is already perfectly lethal. Then you've got some of the most formidable sharks patrolling the coasts, and perhaps the most deceptively terrifying of the bunch, the venomous box jellyfish. This creature evolved a venom so completely devastating to the nervous system, it officially stands as one of the most toxic animals on the entire planet. From the red dirt to the ocean waves, these predators are just perfectly adapted to dominate.
Which brings us to a pretty staggering number. 1.
As in, just one single country is home to all of these diverse, highly evolved, highly lethal predators we've just been talking about. When you look at the sheer concentration of venomous and dangerous creatures chilling in this one nation, it's incredibly easy to assume that just stepping foot in Australia is practically a death sentence. The internet definitely loves to push that narrative. But here is where we really need to take a massive step back and do a serious reality check on the statistics versus the mythology.
Because here is the shocking truth that completely shatters those internet myths. Most Australians stay completely safe. I know, crazy, right? Despite sharing their backyard with the world's deadliest snakes and spiders, and their beaches with massive crocodiles and box jellyfish, the locals actually thrive. How? Well, because humans have our own evolutionary advantage, intelligence and adaptation. Australians have developed a culture of deep respect and awareness for their environment. They know exactly when and where to swim, they know what to keep an eye out for on a bushwalk, and they've developed absolute world-class antivenoms and medical responses. It's actually a remarkable story of coexistence, achieved by simply understanding the rules of nature.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core message of everything we've looked at today. The story of Australia's wildlife isn't just some horror movie list of dangerous creatures. It is an incredible collection of amazing facts about biology. It's a total masterclass in how millions of years of complete geographical isolation, combined with the unyielding pressures of natural selection, can push evolution to its absolute limits. But equally important, it's a story about human survival and adaptation. It proves that with knowledge, respect, and a bit of preparation, we can safely coexist with even the most formidable wildlife nature has to offer.
So I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. Looking at everything we've unpacked today about natural selection, isolation, and coexistence, should we fear nature's deadliest creations or simply respect their fascinating evolutionary journey? Fear is a totally natural instinct, for sure, but as we've seen, understanding and respect are far more powerful tools. I really hope this deep dive into Australia's unique wildlife has sparked your curiosity to learn even more about the incredible mechanisms of evolution that shape our world. Thank you so much for joining me. Keep asking those big questions, and I'll see you in the next explainer.